I remembered today, y'all, finally. Um, and Shamese, I'll go ahead and unmute you now as well.
Okay,
Perfect.
cool.
Awesome. So, again, guys, Shamese is just amazing. I am just so excited for you guys to meet her today, talk to her today. I'm going to read her bio in your hearing now, and we'll get right into this interview. So Shamese Campbell is a virtual accounting manager that encourages entrepreneurs to be ledger confident so that they can make more strategic business decisions to manage their profits and keep more of what they earn. After witnessing her loved ones who couldn't afford to retire, she decided to leverage her corporate accounting experience and finance background to launch the General Ledger Group, a virtual accounting and financial development firm that equips small business owners with the confidence in understanding their financial story to increase the life and profitability of their business. Welcome to Big Idea Food Tribe, Shamese.
Thank you so much, Marlena. I really appreciate it. Like, I'm super excited and honored to be on today's call. And I just really pray that every lady takes at least one to two gems away from today's call so that they can really like level up their business. So
Yes.
thank you so much.
Yes, amen. I'm in agreement with that prayer. Shamese, I know that you have seen me mention your name here and there. Like anytime somebody asks me a vaguely related financial or tax related question, I am pointing them to you. And, there have just been so many questions. Many of us are seeking wisdom in this area, especially right now, having gone through tax season. And we're all just sort of growing our businesses, starting to make money, many of us. And so I'm just super blessed to have you on today to share your expertise and just for the tribe to get to know you and know that you are a valuable resource right here among us. So thank you so much again.
Thank you.
So I like to first just start out by learning a little bit more about who you are, how you got to where you are today. So could you just tell us a little bit about your story and what inspired you to start the General Ledger Group?
Yeah, so I guess I would start I have to take it back, right? So I grew up watching both my mom and my grandmother own their own businesses. They were both very successful entrepreneurs. My mom had a hair salon, which she closed up and moved in the basement of our home when she had me. So I literally grew up running around the salon, you know what I mean? And then my grandmother, I've seen her own multiple business, two of which was the tax office and the other one was like a really lucrative travel agency. And so being able to just grow up and see them do their own thing, own their time, be their own boss and really spend a lot of time with me. Whereas, some parents, unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, but some parents have to leave throughout the day, go to a job. It was just really inspiring to me. And I just really knew that I always wanted to start my own business. And so to fast forward, when I got my first job, I worked in a restaurant, right? And they had me literally doing accounting before I knew what accounting was. So quite naturally, when I went to college, I majored in accounting, got my bachelor's degree from North Carolina A&T, Aggie Pride, if there's anyone on. And so, like I said, when I was at the restaurant, I was doing accounting before I even knew what it was. And so you would think that, with two successful, people in my family owning their businesses, and I have this nice fancy bachelor's degree, that I would come out of college, or, start a business and just kind of hit the ground running, right? It didn't really happen that way. And so what I did was when I first came out, I was like, okay, I really want to start my business. What am I going to do? I completely just abandoned accounting. I said, I want to do event design because I like making beautiful tablescapes and it's amazing and it's fun, whatever. And what happened was I racked up a lot of debt. Okay. So in the midst of like building this event design agency, I bought all of this like decor and all of this stuff. And I was just putting it on my card. Again, I'm an accountant. I'm really good with my finances, but a lot of times this happens with any new entrepreneur. Sometimes you just jump out there and you do and whatever you think it takes to get this business off the ground, which is great. You need to jump, but in the midst of jumping, you want to make sure that you got something to open up on the way down. You know what I mean? Like you got some kind of plan or something, because I happened to look at my credit card statement one day under the business, my business credit card, and I was like, ooh, what you doing? You know what I mean? And so I really had to take a step back and like assess. And then on top of that, to really layer it in for why I started my business and why I went back to my accounting. And like literally, I've been doing accounting my entire career. That's all I've ever done is accounting and finance. Was that I looked up, I've graduated from college. My grandmother's getting ready to retire. My mom, I would say like maybe like when I went to college, my mom's business started to like decline a little bit, you know what I mean? So it started to get like really rough or whatever. But I looked up and I realized, they don't really have no money in the bank. You know what I mean? Like, and this is just to be completely transparent. Like, they don't have no retirement set up, you know? And it was just kind of like, what happened? Like, I've literally at 12 years old helped you input all these tax returns, like hundreds of tax returns. Where's the money? You know what I mean? And so, and it's specifically like my grandmother, she made millions of dollars. And so it's like we're looking up and it's just like, where's the money? And so that's when I realized, okay, I have expertise. I have a background that can help people basically fix this issue. You know what I mean? I guess what I realized was there's this huge gap between, and I talk about this all the time. There's this huge gap between income generation and income management, right? Like especially not only in the small business community, but to be frank, in our community and communities of color. We know how to bring in the money. We glorify securing the bag, but no one takes the time to manage it, right? And so that's basically what inspired me to go back and say, okay, look, I need to start my accounting firm. I basically need to pay it forward. And so essentially what I did was I created the General Ledger Group. And we are a virtual accounting, tax, and financial development firm. We're based out of Fort Washington, Maryland. And essentially what we do is we partner with creative agencies and basically high performing creatives of color to help them manage their accounting and basically eliminate their accounting stress. And by doing this, they're able to increase their profitability, which is the main thing because everybody wants to be able to pay their bills and then also retire comfortably, you know what I mean? And just really give them back that financial clarity so that they can increase the life of their business. Because sometimes you see people, they start a business, they make all this money, but then, you know, their business may fall flat in a couple of years, right? So we essentially partner with them to make sure that they have that clarity there to basically level up in their business. So that's how I got started.
Man, I mean that story is rich. You know, not only did you experience your own just like financial mishap,
Yeah,
but then God, like to have that vantage point, like I God is so good to give you that vantage point of seeing your mom and your grandmother and literally growing up with this business, and just you would assume that there would just be a measure of wealth there, you know what I mean? And so I mean, glory to God just for giving you like that clarity of mind so that now we can benefit.
Right. What I told you to do, you know.
Yeah, like God. And I feel like we can talk all day too about just like what it takes to pivot from like a direction that you felt led to go in, and then you just are like, wait, it needs to go somewhere else. Like, and this wasn't even in our questions, but I kind of want to talk about like, how did you, was it the financial piece that started to crumble in your event design business that sort of initiated you considering going back, or like, did you like start to like,
Well, I always knew that okay, so this is the thing. My grandmother owned a tax office, right? But after graduating college, taxes, and this is, again, I'm always transparent. Okay. So when we get to the Q&A, feel free to ask me anything, but taxes really isn't my thing. Accounting is my thing. Do I offer tax services? Yes. Like I know how to do taxes. We do them very well. But what I drool over, right, is the accounting side of everything, the operational management. And so I always knew that there was going to be a financial piece there because one, when I was at the restaurant, I was doing it and I loved it. And then two, my grandmother had this tax practice and she'd always say, one day, you know, you're going to take over. So I knew it was there, you know, but again, when I guess when you're kind of being rebellious, you're like, oh, this looks so beautiful, you know, and that's when Instagram was like really getting popping and people were posting pictures. And I know how to do like really nice tablescapes, you know what I mean? And so I went that route. But what I realized was, one, I was racking up too much debt. And then two, the money that I made from the business, where was it? You know what I mean? And because I had a 9 to 5, I wasn't worried about that, right? Like I wasn't worried about that because my bills were paid or whatever. So anything that I generated in my business, it was just going in and going out. You know what I mean? And again, I'm skilled to read financial statements up and down all day, but was I looking at mine? No, because I fell into the same trap of a new business owner. You know what I mean? And then also, I'm just going to throw this out there, like the generational, you know, things that like trickle down into us. Like I looked up and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't, you know, become them. And another thing was that the company that I spent most of my career with, it was a startup tech agency, right? So I'm managing millions of dollars, but because it's a tech agency, they had no 401k. They had no retirement plan options, right? So I also looked up and realized like, okay, I don't have but so much in retirement, you know? So I realized that I was becoming them. And it was at that moment that I was like, okay, I'm seeing some success in my business, but I don't have anything to show for it. You know what I mean? And that happens with a lot of the women that I work with. And so basically that's what I was like, okay, I have to come back and I really have to take this serious because I started in 2014, but honestly, I didn't really take my accounting firm seriously and really just go full throttle until about 2016, 2017. And then I've been full time for a year and a half and I'm still alive.
Yes. Congratulations, girl. Still alive
Thank
is
you.
is a work because
I held on to the 9 to 5. Let me just say that. Like, for anybody who still has a 9 to 5, you hold on to it and you milk it because they are who invest in your business. Don't let it go until you are ready to let it go. Like, just keep doing it on the side.
facts. I 100% agree with that message.
Yes.
So can we just, you mentioned a little bit about like even seeing some of the generational lags and things starting to show up in your own life, in your own business, even though you're a fully skilled accountant, all the decree,
Yes.
the, you know, degrees for it. And so I would love to just kind of touch on that real quick. Like, what are some of the mindset or habit generational just mistakes that we are picking up, and what are some things that we can do to sort of overcome some of those things?
Um, I would say one, I guess it starts with sometimes it's not necessarily taught in the home, right? So that's how we end up here. Like what we're basically taught, and again, this is me generalizing it because some people come from backgrounds where their parents were beast, you know, in money management. Mine unfortunately wasn't. Okay. So you know, sometimes we're not taught in the home, so you have to like go out and do it on your own, but it can seem really overwhelming because finances can be super overwhelming. You know what I mean? Just with like taxes. I'm great in taxes, but there's a certain level that I have an amazing CPA partner that I outsource to. I stay in my zone of expertise. You know what I mean? And so I just feel like, you know, one, if you're not taught, you may struggle and you may put it off, put it off, put it off. So one thing to remember is, you know, it's just never too late to start. I
Mm,
always say that to everybody. It's never too late to start. As much as I've grown my business in terms of like the accounting, the services that I provide and stuff like that, I still offer like these two services that are specifically for my smaller business owners because one of them is like a cleanup project, right? Because I've met people who've made multiple six figures and they haven't cleaned up anything. You know what I mean? So that's what they bring us on for. And so the thing to remember is don't beat up yourself. Like it's never too late to start. You just have to start, right? So you just want to get out of that. As Kristen on this call, she's my business bestie, you guys. She always talks about limiting beliefs as a therapist. And that's what it is. It's kind of like, you know, you have this limiting belief that, oh, I'll never be able to conquer my finances and I'll never be able to do this. And it's just like, listen, you have Google University and then you have all these amazing women or anybody else you may know that may be in my, you know, industry that you can reach out to for help. So I don't care, you know, if you started your business 3 years ago and you never put it on your tax return, just start. I don't care. Put it somewhere because you want to get those tax write-offs for one. And then two, I would say to make a habit to really like reconcile your books at least once a month. Now, when I say reconcile, I hope I'm not losing people, but basically that means look at all the transactions that you did within that month, you know, and basically look at your financial story so that you can make decisions. And this not only applies to the business side, it also applies to the personal side. Y'all remember back in the day when people used to talk about, oh, I got to reconcile my checkbook. That's what it is. It's literally like, and this goes into the conversation, Marlena, of like just being ledger confident, but basically just understanding the footprint of your coin. So essentially, everything, every transaction that you see on your bank statement should essentially go into a bucket, right? And then you look at these buckets and say, how am I doing? So even if you're in the beginning, you know, and you haven't outsourced or you haven't hired an accounting professional yet, you can still just categorize these things and say, oh man, I spent $500 on food this month. You know what I mean? Like that tells you, you know, and it shows you like, okay, here's where I can make some of my changes. Or, oh man, I made $5,000 this month. Where did it come from? You know what I mean? Take a look at it because you have to know where you are to know where you're going, essentially. I hope that answers the question. So, like, it's never too late to start. Make a habit of like really looking at your financials. I know in the beginning we get so caught up again with securing the bag, making the money, but you want to take a step back to see like how did you make it and how much did it cost you to make it? You know what I mean?
mm,
And then know where you are to know where you're going, essentially.
mm, 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 mm. Yes, that is so good. And I really appreciate you saying your financial story. Like that term I feel like you have been like one of the first places I've heard that term, and it's just like, yeah, like our money really is telling a story, and if we listen and look at this story, like we'll be able to make wise decisions.
Right.
So that it sounds like you did explain, and if you want to kind of give us that definition again, like what does it mean to be ledger confident, which is I love this term, and
Yeah, oh, I'm glad because it's so geeky. So basically, in accounting, a financial ledger is essentially like just a system that manages all of your money, right? So I just spent it, I took a spin on it and I said, look, I want anybody that I interact with or anybody that I help who hears me on a webinar, if I work with them directly, I don't care, but I want them to know what a financial ledger is, because a financial ledger essentially manages the lifeblood of your business, which is your cash flow. You know what I mean? And so essentially, I want people to be ledger confident. And what it means is to basically just have that confidence in yourself to really understand, again, the footprint of your coin. How am I making my money and how am I spending my money? Because I'm telling you guys, like, even if you're not like, confident in financial management and stuff like that, when you really look at your numbers, it tells a story. You know what I mean? It completely tells a story. It shows you how you're making money, what service offerings you're providing that's like really beasting, what service offerings are not beasting, you know what I mean? And even if something isn't working out too well, why is it not working out too well? Is it that you're underpricing yourself? Is it that your overhead is too high? You know what I mean? Like, what is it? And so, to be ledger confident is to really take that step back and say, look, I'm going to prioritize my cash flow. I'm going to prioritize my cash flow management. And as a small business owner, I feel like, we wear 17 hats, right? We wear all these different hats and we have to be this, and we have to be that, and we have to be this, which is true. But once you get to a certain point, obviously you can outsource, but still in the beginning, I want you to go into it like, look, I know what I'm doing. You know what I mean? Even if you don't, like, if you know that Shamese is telling you just every month, I don't care if you write it down on paper. I don't care if you put it in Excel, but look at it and say, how much did I spend? You know what I mean? Like, just to really understand the footprint. And then it'll be super helpful for you that when you do outsource it to someone, you have that basis there. And I'll say this one last thing, because a lot of times, say in like the first 1 to 3 years of business, people are just spending money, right? To like grow the business, you're making money, you're not really paying attention to it. And then tax season comes. If you were ledger confident or like, really on top of your finances, you can easily just hand over, I don't care if it's a written piece of paper, a spreadsheet, or something to your accountant, say, here, help me with this, make this make sense. You know what I mean? And so that's why I just advocate for that, because people who are ledger confident can really grow and scale their business and make the proper business decisions, to stand the test of time.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, you are talking to me right now. Like I just started, I just started sort of reconciling monthly, because I pay myself once a month and I go back through and see what happened the month prior. But in terms of reviewing the story, like I definitely need your help with that in the future. But moving on, I love the term, cash flow is honestly a new term to me. So I would love for you to kind of help explain what that really means. And then, similarly, like you discussed developing a strategy, like you have to know where you're going, or know where you've been to know where you're going, and like cash strategy. And I like the thought of finally developing a financial strategy for my business just like makes my mouth water, because I'm like, oh my God, yes, I need this. So what exactly is a cash strategy, and like, why is it important to have one?
Yeah. So, I mean, at the end of the day, no matter if you're a new business owner, if you're a startup company, or if you've been in the game for years, you're a corporate company, a Fortune 5, whatever, cash is the lifeblood of everyone's business. Because at the end of the day, if cash runs out and you're in liquid, your business is not going to go anywhere and you have a going concern, right? Like, it's just going to stop. You can't pay your employees. You can't even pay yourself. You know what I mean? You can't invest in things to keep going or whatever. And so basically, to have effective cash strategy, you essentially want to create a profit plan, right? And what that profit plan looks like, and if you guys are taking notes, I promise this is very simple. I don't like to just spit information to people that's not digestible. A profit plan is essentially a blown out version of your P&L. And if people don't know what a P&L is, it is a profit and loss statement. This is like the number one financial statement that you need to be looking at month over month when I talk about digging into your financial story. You need to look at this profit and loss statement. And the way that a profit and loss statement looks like is literally profit minus expenses, well, gross revenue minus expenses equals your net profit. You know what I mean? Like you have this money left over with, do you pay yourself? What do you do with it or whatever? We can talk about that later or whatever. But essentially is a profit plan or a cash strategy is you basically take that P&L and you blow it out, right? You start forecasting like how much money do I want to bring in next month? You know what I mean? Like what services am I going to offer this month? And that's kind of like, I won't say the easy part, but that's the part that I see most small business owners doing. You know what I mean? Like they definitely map out the revenue generation. But the piece that I see everyone skip, even my clients who are making millions of dollars, like I'll see holes in like what they're leaving out of their profit plan is how much is it going to cost you to make that money? Right. A lot of the times people think like, oh yeah, I want to make, $100,000 this year, blah, blah, blah. How much is it going to take you how much is it going to cost you to make it? You know what I mean? Like, do you have to hire advertisers? Do you have to, hire contractors? Like, what is it? You know what I mean? And so when you think about in terms of like a profit plan and the cash strategy, it's literally like a forecast of what you want to do. You know what I mean? Now you may need obviously like assistance from such as someone like myself who's an accountant to manage it, but in the beginning if you write it all down, I'm telling you, if you just look at it, you can see where things just don't line up, right? So if you say, okay, I want to make $1,000 this month and I'm only going to pay my VA or my social media manager, I don't know, $200 a month, whatever, and then you look up and you realize you only made 500 and you paid your VA 500, something's wrong. You know what I mean? You can easily add and subtract. Accounting is not that complicated. It's really only complicated on my end, again, when you start forecasting. But I just really encourage everyone to, maybe take this weekend, right? And just really just start to look at your profit plan. It does not have to be detailed. That's what people like me are for. But for where you are right now, literally write down all the ways you're making money, write down all the expenses you have. And here's a key, here's a trick. Look at your bank statement. A lot of people spend a lot of money and they don't know where it's going. Comb through your bank statement, reconcile your accounts, because you'll realize, oh yeah, I forgot that I'm paying Acuity every month, $20, that stuff adds up. And so write down all the ways you're making money, all the ways you're spending money, and then literally plug it into a calculator and add it up. How much is left over? If you make $1,000 this month and your expenses are $5, in theory, you should have $500 left over, right? Does it always happen that way? Nope. But at least have it there so that it can help you start to forecast out and plan out, the future of your business. So that's essentially what cash strategy is.
Super. Like,
I hope I'm like breaking that down well enough.
No, like it makes total sense. You're basically saying, what am I going to do with the money that I have left? And there's no way to really understand the real money that you have left unless you actually take a look at
it. Yeah.
And what you're making. And that's really good, because I definitely outline the things that I desire to do in the future to invest in my business and to help generate additional profit.
Right.
But you do have to like sit there and look at, okay, what do I have to work with? The other thing, go ahead. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I just want to say this one thing. And the if there's any, I can't even get it out. If there's any people right now who's on the call who may listen to this later, if you really want to be a full-time entrepreneur, this is super, super important, because essentially your business has to take over your salary, right? So that's primarily like what cash strategy is really for, making sure that you can sustain, quit your job, or even just keep that cash in your business. So I just wanted to say that.
Facts. Whew, yeah, very important. And that's also something that I share with my clients too. Like, many of us might have a goal, like I want to make 10K a month. And I ask them, like, do you want to gross 10K a month, or do you want to net? Do you need 10K like to pay yourself 10K a month? Because if you do, then your business needs to make more than that. And like,
good question, Marlena.
I do a little something here and there, but no, like that's super, super duper important. And so let's get into this a little bit. Like you've given us a sense for like where we need to start. We need to start with one, just monthly reconciling our accounts and just looking at it. And I feel like that is so powerful, because we do put it off because it is big and scary. And when we don't look at something for years and years and months, like it just gets out of control. But when you just look at it, at least you're aware. And then, and even just the awareness, even if you don't do something about it, right. You are still aware, and maybe that awareness is helping, you with making decisions. But I really appreciate having a clear understanding of like that whole cash flow and cash strategy piece. So so for the person who is, you know, in their first few years of business, many of us in Big Idea Food Tribe are in our first like 3 years of business, or are still working to start. But let's say you're in this position, you haven't yet hired strategic accounting and taxes help. Where would you recommend we start the process of actually preparing ourselves to receive support from an accounting professional like yourself?
Mm-hmm. So again, going back to that ledger confidence, there's this like freebie I have on my site that basically deep dives into this, but I'm gonna keep this like super high level. Essentially, when you start your huh?
So feel free to drop that link.
Oh yeah, it's just the generalledgergroup.com. But I talk about this all the time. Like these same 5 steps go nowhere. Like for any new business owner, we specialize in servicing service-based business owners, but product-based and service-based, it doesn't matter. You need to do these 5 steps. A lot of times when people first get started, they forget to register their business. Please register your business. Become official. You know, it's super important. One, just for like, I don't want to get too deep, but like liability purposes and things like that, depending on what industry you're in. But register your business. And then 2, like one of the things is to get a bank account, right? But to get a bank account, you need that business register. You need that EIN to open the business bank account, right? And that's like one of the most common mistakes. I believe you might touch on this later, but one of the most common mistakes of newbies is they commingle their business and personal funds. So I want you guys to make a habit starting right now. I don't care what you did from January 1st through now. Like I want you to start separating it. Please separate it. And I don't care if you don't have enough in your business bank account to like pay bills, but make a habit of like transferring that money over, because essentially you want to make sure that everything is in this new business bank account. And that will like tremendously help your accountant when they come on, even though we know the right questions to ask, we know what to do to like pull stuff from your personal side, but it'll be super helpful if you say, oh no, here's my business bank account and I've ran everything through this account. Meaning all the ways I'm bringing in money through PayPal, Stripe, whatever, it's all linked to this business bank account. And anything that I've paid, advertising, contractors, whatever, it has all come out of this account. No matter where the money came from. Again, if you're paying a contractor, the trick is to literally say, let me transfer this $250 over, you know, from my personal account to my business account, and then pay that person. Because you know how you get like a W-2 at the end of the year? It's super helpful when you start doing 1099s and things like that. So register your business, get a business bank account. And then the other 3 items were really just falling under the term of like ledger confidence, really reconciling your bank account, right? So create this profit plan. Again, literally profit minus expenses, what's at the bottom, right? Create this profit plan and then start to basically, when you reconcile your account, lay it over that profit plan. And it's just another way of how I said it earlier, but essentially just lay it over. If you said you were going to do this, what did you really do? You know what I mean? And start looking at it. And of course, you know, I might be able to provide more context, but it's just simple math. You know, if you said you were going to do this and you only did this, the question that you need to ask yourself as a business owner is, what happened? What can I make better? Right. And so I think that those few steps there will really help you prepare to bring someone on board, because you're set up. You know what I mean? It's not like you have to start from the beginning, register your business, do the business bank account, because at that point we can't really help you. You know what I mean? Like we can, but it's just so much more efficient and so much more helpful for you guys, for us to provide clarity for you guys if you have those steps out of the way. And then once you get there, that's when you talk about, okay, like what kind of professional do I bring on?
Okay, so let me back up. So I got step 1 is register business. Step 2 is get business bank account. And I know there's 5 steps. So what was number 3?
So number 3 is, I believe it was just create a profit plan. I'm not looking at it right now, but create a profit plan to essentially reconcile your books and lay it over, right? So you basically, I think in my freebie, I call it a cash flow forecast, which sounds so overwhelming. So, but all you're creating is a profit plan. And so you want to create that so that you can, again, map out, like forecast out where your business is going to go, right? Again, a lot of people look at the top line, but I encourage you guys to start looking at those expenses as well. And then actually, give me 1 second, you guys. I should have had it open. Give me 1 second.
Oh yeah. If you want to share your screen too, you can. I'll update.
Okay. Let's see. Okay. So the third step is, give me 1 second. Zoom has my computer going super slow. because I want to break this down for you guys. And again, you can find more of the details on my site, which is just thegeneralledgergroup.com. All right, so okay, I skipped a step, Marlena. Okay, it doesn't really matter, but step 1 is register your business, open a business bank account. Then 2, let me back up. 2, you want to implement an accounting system, right? So I know most of you guys have probably heard about QuickBooks or something like that, right? You want to make sure you have this in place. It can get overwhelming, like when you buy it, but if bare minimum you sign up for it and link that business bank account, you're gravy. It makes our lives like so much more easier because literally everything is already in there. We go in, we reconcile it for you, whatever. But at the end of the day, if you don't have someone on board yet, you can reconcile it. Again, let me make sure you guys are clear. Reconciling is literally taking your cash and putting it in a bucket. If you see $500 come out your bank account, who was it for? You know what I mean? And so that's when you start getting into those like categories and stuff to help you make business decisions. How much should I spend on contractors or even just taxes for that, for that matter. And so you want to make sure that you implement or at least register for a financial software. I recommend QuickBooks. I don't get any kickback from them, you guys, but I personally love QuickBooks because it is super, super user friendly. For people who are just doing their accounting themselves, right? You literally just sign up for it and you start saying, oh, this is that. And then boom, you hit one button and you can literally see your profit and loss for the, the month, the year, whatever, again, so that you can make business decisions. Okay, so register your business, open your bank account. 2, implement an accounting system, preferably QuickBooks. 3 is execute that profit plan, which we were just talking about. 4 is reconciling your books weekly. Now, listen, I know that might sound overwhelming, but if you can't do weekly, at least please do monthly. Like I promise you guys, when you get in there, it takes 5 seconds, especially if you don't have a lot of activity, which you probably won't. As new business owners, you probably have like 5 or 10 transactions a month. You know what I mean? Like maybe 30, but it's not that many transactions to like go in there and code. But you really want to reconcile. I encourage weekly, but bare minimum monthly, so that you can really know your cash balance. You can know your cash position, because a lot of the times, not even on the business side, but on the personal side as well, people will look at their bank account and they'll be like, oh, I have $5,000 in my bank account. You know what I mean? But that's not necessarily true. Like if you're not reconciling, what if you paid someone $1,000 yesterday? You really only have $4,000. You know what I mean? So it really helps you to understand like your cash balance, your cash position, so that you can know where you are to know where you're going if you're reconciling on a consistent basis. And then the 5th one was basically more so just deep diving, like understanding your financial story, looking at this profit and loss and saying to yourself, in what ways did I meet my goals and in what ways did I not meet my goals, and how can I become better? Like how can I look at these numbers to see what I can do better, to either if I missed the mark to actually make my gross revenue number, or if I made my gross revenue number but I don't have nothing in the bank account, it's because you spent too much money. You know what I mean? So that's what the fifth step is to really just look and really deep dive to understand your financial story.
That is really good. I think that having started, I've been in business a long time, but this particular business I'm in for about 2 years, and I've been fine-tuning my offers for over this time, and I'm finally to a place where I feel like my offers are getting set. So that has been an excuse in my mind of like, well, like I don't know my offers yet. I don't really know what I'm going to be doing this month or that kind of thing. And, you're basically just telling me, and hopefully anybody else who's in that same position of like, I don't know, like it's still, your money still tells a story, is really, and even if you feel like things in your business aren't settled, like there's still power in looking at and understanding, like, did I hit my goals? And if not, why not? Even if your goals are still fuzzy, but if you're still just looking at it, this is just, I'm taking this in.
Yeah, I mean, and it goes beyond accounting too, right? Like if you're saying my goal is to post 10 times this month, go back and look at Instagram. Did you post 10 times this month? You know what I mean? It's literally the same thing. You're just swapping it for numbers, right? And then say like, okay, what can I do to make it better? And sometimes it's not that, I don't know a better way to say this. It's not that you suck. You know what I mean? It's just that you maybe like overshot, or maybe you mapped it out wrong. And one of the things that I ask on my consultation calls is just kind of, is where do you want to be in the next couple of years, right? Some people, when I talk about cash strategy and profit plan, no one knows where to start. I just told you guys where to start. just start where you are. I don't care if it's 2 and 2 things on there, you know what I mean? And then you have a bottom line. Just write something down and really start brainstorming, because when I ask people where they want to be in the next 1 to 2 years, where they want to be in 5 years, some people haven't even thought about it. You know, they're so consumed with the idea of starting a business that they're not making it like, you know, an actual like plan. And I always say this backwards, but what is it? Like, if you plan to fail, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Ooh, I said it right. But, you know, just start writing these things down and start holding yourself accountable, because let me tell you, it's going to change. It's always going to change. Marlena is like, I'm going to use you as an example. You almost got your service offerings together, right? I bet you in a year and a half, something's going to change. You know what I mean? It's just, it's the name of the game. And coming from someone who's like a recovering perfectionist, I have a problem with that. It really like holds me back from doing things. And so I'm conquering it every day. So as a new business owner, you can say like, oh, I don't want to write this down or write this goal down because I don't even know what I'm going to offer yet. I don't care. I don't care if you don't know what you want to offer. If you want to write down $100,000, write down $100,000, and let's start thinking about how we can get there. You know what I mean? And so just write it down and make it plain.
Yep. I think that's really what I'm taking from this. You know, we avoid things when they're vague, unclear, unknown. We just avoid them. But if we just sit there and put our eyes on it, address it, acknowledge it, deal with it, right?
Look in the mirror.
Yeah. Look in the mirror.
Right.
Whew. It's necessary. And God, it really is. And our finances, that's the thing about finances though, because they tell a picture about you. Like it's cut and dry. Like, honey, you definitely spent $4,000 on food last month. I'm sorry, but you did that. And it's like, oh.
And then you can only write off 50% of it. Hello.
Oh, see.
So you need to know these things. You know what I mean? Like, and it's okay. I promise you guys, when you look in the mirror, you will have to slap yourself. You might feel down, but only feel down for like one, you know, again, I'm going to keep referencing my business bestie because she is a therapist. You're allowed to feel those feelings, but don't stay stuck in it, right? So if you realize you blew all your money, honey, okay, you can't get it back now. It's gone. Now, what are you going to do to not do that again? It's the same as dealing with like men in relationships. You was in this bad relationship. Okay, what are you going to avoid the next time? You know what I mean? So the step is to really like, when it comes to finances on both the business and personal side, it's to just look in the mirror, recognize where you are, because once you recognize where you are, you can no longer be ignorant about going forward, right? You can't, that's it, it's done. You can just get better. You can always go up.
I have to just type this down. Once you recognize where you are, you can no longer be ignorant about where you're going.
Yeah.
Like, are y'all, please let me know in the chat, are y'all like receiving this financial therapy session like I am? Because it's gathering me all the way together. Yes. Kristen said,
I hope it's helping. I hope it's like helping some people, you know.
Yes. Yep. Summer said, absolutely. Kaisha said, yes, I am. Good. So I do have a couple more questions, but I think I might end so we can just get right into some of these Q&A.
Okay.
Q&A, but I think I am going to ask you like one more thing. I want to have that on. No, two more things that I want to have on
the different roles, probably.
Yeah, the different roles. So like there are so many terms out there for what service providers do in this space, like accountant, bookkeeper, CPA, financial strategist. Like I hear all these terms and I know they're not all necessarily interchangeable, but I don't necessarily know what they each do,
right,
how they function. So could you help us understand what roles we as business owners actually need to be hiring for, especially many of us in our first 3 years, and when in our business journey we should be hiring them, and also let us know which of these services you actually offer at the General Ledger Group.
Okay, so I'm going to try to keep this like super high level again, because I don't like to just give people things that just confuses them, because there's honestly some people in my industry that don't even understand the differences between them. But there's a lot of different job tasks and a lot of different assignments that fall under every level of accounting, right? Like the bookkeeping, accounting, CFO, CPA, whatever. And so I'm just going to touch on the things that I think will be beneficial to you guys. So one is the bookkeeper, right? The bookkeeper is the person who, when I was talking about going into QuickBooks and reconciling everything just to generate your profit and loss statement so that you can start to understand your financial story, that's that person. That person goes into your QuickBooks, they categorize everything, and they literally send you your financial statements on a monthly basis. So that's kind of like the lower tier, but it's super, super helpful for people who heard me tell them to reconcile their account. And they're like, Shamese, I'm not doing that. You know what I mean? So listen, it's like super helpful for that person. And some people, even though they may not be full-time, I always think when you ask the question of when I should bring this person on, that's all relative, to be honest. It's relative into knowing what you want and what you're willing to invest in. Because I see people who are still working a 9 to 5, and they will literally take some money from the 9 to 5 just to hire this bookkeeper because they just can't keep up with the QuickBooks and reconciling everything, which ultimately helps you during, at the end of the year for tax season. So that's the first level. So it's the bookkeeper. They just really go in, they generate your profit and loss statement for you. Then you kind of have like the accountant slash like CPA, who is just, a certified professional accountant. And just so you know, your accountant doesn't have to be a CPA. I am not a CPA. CPAs more so get certified when they're dealing with specifically with audit, like getting audited and stuff, and then taxes, like a certain level of taxes. Like you definitely need to be certified for that. But basically, an accountant slash CPA, they come on board to really help you understand that financial story. They help you digest it. And then some technical things, like they might have to tighten up some things that the bookkeeper does. But at the end of the day, the bookkeeper generates the profit and loss. The accountant slash CPA, they come in and like review the profit and loss. Okay. And really just make sure that it's good and up to par with where it should be, with like all the technical things we got to do on the back end. And then the other one you mentioned is a CFO. Now, the CFO, we essentially take that information from our bookkeepers, from our accountants, and then we just blow it out. Like it stands for certified financial officer, but honestly, it could stand for like chief forecasting officer, because that's what it is. Like we take the information and we start to brainstorm, okay, what is the business going to look like in the next 1 to 3 years? Am I utilizing my employees correctly? Because you could be like overstaffed, you know what I mean? And this is like when you really start to scale. These are like the services that I offer for my clients. Like, are you overstaffed? Should you be hiring that next person? Your retainers that you're bringing in, are you pricing them right? You know what I mean? Because it looks like, you may not be pricing them right. And we just really it's basically just organizing like data to help you make more strategic business decisions. So whereas an accountant and a bookkeeper, they focus more on historical information. The CFO, that's like the person, you know what I mean? That's like your partner, like your right hand. They help you forecast the other way. You know what I mean? To really extend like the continuity of your business, to make sure that you're, one, retaining your coins because you want to be able to pay yourself and stuff and pay your overhead. And then also just making sure your business is going to last, like you have livelihood in the business. And then the last thing was, I think you mentioned a financial strategist. When I hear financial strategist, I think personal. Okay, so I want to like break that up, because when it comes to like profit planning and things like that, again, that's what I do like as a CFO, right? But when you think about in terms of financial strategy, think about it like this. If you have those three people on the business side, right? And you know how we were talking about like your net profit, right? So you have gross revenue minus your expenses, what's left over. I think that, and this is what I want to speak to for you guys, that is a completely separate person to what you do with that money that's left over. Now, if we're talking about on a business, I can tell you what to do with it. But if you're saying like, this is how much I took out of the business for myself, or this is how much my salary was, this is how much my CFO signed off on for my salary to be, now what do you do, right? Are you investing it into retirement? Any like wealth building ideas, you know what I mean? Like, what are you, are debt payoff, paying your bills? Like, what are you doing? That's like a completely separate person that I like to think of outside of accounting, right? Like that's like a personal finance coach when I think financial strategist. Make sense?
Yes.
And then at what level should you hire them? Again, I always recommend people to have at least a bookkeeper. Now, if you can't have a bookkeeper month over month, which you can't, when I like talk to people, as an accountant, I'm not a salesperson, right? And I tell everybody this, like, I'm not a salesperson. If you're not making enough money, I'm not going to bring you on as a monthly client. It just makes no sense. I'm the one crunching your numbers. Why would I tell you to spend this much on contracting, right? But at the bare minimum, what you can do is hire someone, or, hire my firm or whatever, to come in, set up everything for you, and then train you on it, so that it's like a one-time fee. And then I'll see you when you start like really leveling up, scaling your business, and you're generating, enough revenue to then bring on your accountant and CFO. And generally most teams today, such as my team and then other professional colleagues that I have, we have all of this combined into one virtual service, right? So it's really, you don't have to have like 3 people on your team. No, you generally hire one and they have staff on their team to help with that.
That's good.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, to understand the different levels, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
CFO level, you're going to need some
Right.
bags secured in order
Mm-hmm.
to, utilize that service. But
Right.
the lower end, right? You can literally have someone come in, hire, and that's just one way to just invest in your financial health, right? I'm all about like investing in how, the direction
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to take my business. So if you're listening, just starting out, like, and haven't done any of this, like that could be one of your first, investments just to help you get going in the right direction. I
Yeah.
love that recommendation.
And like
Um,
I said, even if it's just a one-time flat fee, like get it done, get it over with, but at least you can say you're set up, to make tax season a breeze. You don't have to worry, like you know how to reconcile your account until it just starts to get on your nerves, and then you start pulling money from other places to pay for it. But at least just invest in that, like get set up, because when tax season comes, all you want to be able to do literally is log into a software, hit one button, and like you can throw it in TurboTax. You don't even need to hire a tax preparer at that point. You know what I mean? You throw it in TurboTax because it's already been set up and customized for you. And then once you start scaling, I would say generally people making over 6 figures, generally over like 150,000, 250,000. I think that's at the point where you really need to start bringing on that CFO so that again, you can make sure that you're keeping that money within the business and you're not just blowing it all. Because sometimes if you can make $1 million and someone can make $500,000, but the person making $500,000, their profit margins are way better than the person making $1 million. So what difference does it matter? You know what I mean? That's what you need the CFO level for.
so good. So good. All right. So I'm going to ask one more question because I did say I was going to ask this. I wanted it to be on the recording. It
Okay.
doesn't really flow in our conversation at all, but I'm still going to ask it. So many of us are doing business primarily online. And I feel like the question of should I charge sales tax or not is one of the biggest
Mm-hmm.
question marks that many of us have. Or maybe I'm just
Mm-hmm.
speaking for myself.
Okay.
So could you walk us through the process for understanding when to charge sales tax, or even if it's like we need to just look somewhere to understand where to find
Yeah.
out, for both product-based and for service-based businesses?
Yes. So the high level short answer is this. Sales tax is generally for product based businesses. It's not for service based businesses. And this is very like high level short answer. Generally, if you're a service based business, you do not need to be assessing any sales tax. Okay. But if you are a product based business, almost 100% of the time, you like 99% of the time, you need to be charging sales tax. Now, the caveat is for digital products, like in this day and age, like there are certain states that want you to assess sales tax for like digital products. So you want to be super careful about that. Again, my expertise is on the service-based side, but if you are a product-based business, you definitely, and this is a good question too, Marlena, because when it comes to start, like when you get to that point where you really want to bring someone on board, even if it's just for that one-time project, you want to make sure that their expertise and their specialty is in product-based businesses because they can crunch numbers like no other for like your merchandise. You know what I mean? So you want to make sure that they have that experience there. But what was I saying? But when it comes to product-based businesses, you definitely want to assess sales tax. And one of the areas that you can look into, one is like if you're like leveraging Shopify, I know it can integrate with Avalara. I'm personally familiar with Avalara. It's basically just a company that will help you assess your sales tax, and then also they remit your tax returns for you. Because when people talk sales tax, yeah, you see the number pop up on like your invoice or whatever, blah, blah, blah. But on the back end, on the accounting and tax end, that money has to go somewhere. You know what I mean? Like you actually have to file a tax return for it. And it is completely separate from your personal tax return and your business tax return. It's completely separate. It's a whole nother ball game. So you may want to make sure that you're looking into Shopify. I think there's like a button you can turn on, and then also make sure that it's integrating with Avalar and do some more research there. And if any of you are product-based businesses, I have an amazing colleague who's like really good with like product-based businesses. Okay. But yeah, service-based, generally, you don't have to worry about it.
Good. That is super helpful. Thank you
Mm-hmm.
for breaking that down. That was like really helpful. I'm like both. I have both, although it's service.
Yeah.
Okay, so this has been amazing. Like I said, I want to get right into some of these questions that have been coming into the chat. So Shamese, is there anything else that you want to just in general leave with the audience before we do Q&A?
I would just say, one, thank you again, Marlena, for bringing me on to, like, I hope this was really helpful for everybody. And again, don't beat yourself up if you have, you don't know where to start. Just start, because this is like a super important part of your business. It's going to really help you grow. I understand that, as creatives, like I myself am a creative at heart. Again, I started with event design, so I'm a creative at heart. And sometimes we don't look at the financials, but to really know your numbers is to really build and scale a profitable, sustainable business. Okay, so just start somewhere. Make sure that you prioritize your money management, become more ledger confident. And then if you want to reach out, if you want to chat, you can definitely reach out to me. You can find all the links on my website, which is just a generalledgergroup.com, and you can learn a little bit more about my services. I do have, shameless plug, but I do have that one service where it is for newbie entrepreneurs. It's a one-time flat fee to get you set up. I am going to phase that out. I'm just going to be transparent, Marlena. I am going to phase that out towards the end of the year, but it is still available now because we are working with more experienced, high-performing, service providers and creative agencies. So they have like 10 people on their team and stuff like that, but it is still available now. So if you're interested in learning more about like that QuickBooks setup service, you can definitely visit me on the generalledgergroup.com. Or even if you just have some general questions because you're Marlena's tribe, like just ping me, email me, DM me, do whatever you need to do. Like ask me a quick question and I'll definitely try to answer it for you.
Awesome. Yes, you guys can reach out to Shamese in Tribe, message her, all of the things. She's amazing. Shamese, thank you.
You're welcome.
Really, really blessed us today. I appreciate all of this that I need to get myself together and do.
You're welcome. Again, I always try to make sure it's like super digestible. I don't want to just spit stuff and you guys are like, what is she talking about?
No, this was super digestible and helpful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.